What's going on, you guys? Theo here with the big review, back yet again with another King of Fighters All-Star video, and it is Saturday, so happy weekend to all of you. And as per tradition on Saturdays, we are going to have our weekly chat and chill session, and I figured since this developer's handbook dropped yesterday, this would be a good topic for us to discuss this week. There were other things that I was kind of planning throughout the week that were a little bit juicier, but I feel like there's a decent amount here that is worth noting and kind of going over. So if you haven't already done so, make sure you smash that like button and subscribe. It helps me out a ton as a new YouTuber. And let's go ahead and jump into this handbook, and then we'll discuss it throughout the video. We're going to today take a look at a topic that I didn't really have time this week to go over or fit into a video, and that is going to be just going ahead and combining a bunch of these 5-star option cards that I had sitting in my inbox, because I had another 500 some odd cards in my inbox that I needed to clear through. So we're going to go for the new option cards and those set cards that we went for in a previous video and got completely shafted on. So we'll do that here in a moment, but let's go ahead and talk about this dev note and go through it real quick. So first thing that they want to talk about here, they say the first piece of news is an update regarding real-time PvE content. Many contenders have voiced the opinion that they would like a game mode where multiple players can play in real time together. We're in the final stages of development for the real-time PvE content, and it's shaping up to be a game mode where up to 3 players will cooperatively attack a single boss together. We plan to release that update once it undergoes extensive testing, and we will reveal more details as the release schedule is finalized. Then they go on to say the second piece of news is regarding the KoF 2001 story mode update. We're preparing to deliver the final story of the Ness arc that many contenders have been waiting for. Large changes await the tuners and their relationships with the protagonist. We hope you're looking forward to how the story unfolds in KoF 2001. Then they summarize with, this concludes round 4 of the dev notes. We're continuing to work hard to deliver on the promises we've made to contenders everywhere. Beyond that, we've promised we will continue to keep your feedback in mind and make the appropriate changes, so we hope you continue to make your voices heard. We hope to continue to see you in KoF All-Star in February. Thank you. And that is the 4th developer's handbook. Now, to kind of start at the end and get back to the beginning, I'm going to Quentin Tarantino this thing, but basically, the Ness arc finishing up needed to be done a while ago. It seems like they've dragged their feet on story mode for quite a while, and as we all know, those of us who have played this game for long enough, the biggest thing about story mode whenever there's an update is obviously going to be the fact that we get more rubies, so that is a big deal for free-to-play players. Hopefully this comes out very soon, so that you guys can capitalize on those and get those. One thing that they did not mention in here was any of the new difficulty unlocks for any of the story modes that we don't have the full amount of difficulties for, so that we can further get more rubies, especially for those of us who are on kind of the veteran side of things. But I digress. Not that big of a deal. I'm sure they'll get around to it. But that's exciting nonetheless. More rubies is always exciting. But really the big thing I want to discuss in today's video is going to be the first point they brought up, which is going to be the CoOp PVE content. And there's a lot there that I want to unpack and discuss. So I figured that that would be the topic of today's video. So the reason why I wanted to focus on this as a topic this week and kind of do a deep dive into things is because this is a topic in a game mode that I've been particularly excited about for quite some time. Reason being is I've talked to you guys quite a bit in the past about how I view this channel as more of a community than I do a information-based channel. Now obviously that is predicated upon me doing my side of things and trying to bring you guys as quality of video as I possibly can each and every day, and going over topics that are of importance to not just myself but the community. And when it comes to this real-time co-op PvE thing, I'm worried, but I'm also excited, and I have a hard time getting too far to either side of that. And the reason for that is because let's look at PvP, for example. PvP, since the inception of this game, has been inherently flawed. It has had a great deal of issues, and it has always had problems. They've said in numerous occasions that they were going to get it fixed, that they were working on it. They've taken it down for months at a time, saying that they were fixing things, and to more or less some form of success, but for the most part, it has still been broken. It doesn't work for a whole lot of players still. It's still very, very glitchy, buggy, laggy, what have you. And you needn't look any further than PvP for an example of why whenever you are trying to sync up with other players, doesn't matter where they are in the world, obviously you can mitigate your issues if you're trying to stay on the same server, but it tends to be a lag party, and that's a problem. Now, the other part that makes me worry about this is if you take a look at other things like Team Relay Challenge, for example, which is extremely laggy. Team Relay Challenge is a 3v1 boss dungeon where you're basically doing almost what it sounds like they're proposing here, but you're doing it locally. You're just doing it with bots, with your team, one person versus an AI. So how do they expect to make that type of system co-op, bring two other players in to your party, and for it not to be a major problem, lag-wise, connection-wise, so on and so forth? Now, don't get me wrong. I'm excited for the prospect. I've been excited for the prospect ever since they had announced the fact that they were looking into doing something like this. And I do think it is healthy for the game to have a mode like this. The thing about it is, I would love to have it because I would love to work with you guys and we could make content together. We could play co-op together, do some of these boss runs, whatever it ends up looking like. You know what I mean. It'd be great to be able to do that with you guys. It would be great to be able to bring in some of my fellow YouTubers that I'm friends with and do that with them. And I feel like that is the kind of content that I have really wanted to strive for going forward on this channel. Whether it's a collaboration with my fellow viewers or whether it is a collaboration with my fellow YouTubers, those are things that I would love to do. My fear, however, is if they can't fix PvP this far in, if PvP is still going to have as many issues as it does, and yes, it has gotten better, and I'm not going to completely sit here and act like PvP is a total mess. It does work for many people. Some people have varying degrees of success with it. It is not as big of a problem as it used to be. The biggest problem with PvP now is the lackluster rewards and lack of support, it seems. But at the end of the day, though, do we really expect this to go off without a hitch? Now, one thing that they mention in that dev note that does give me pause and makes me think that they acknowledge what I'm talking about, at least in some capacity, is when they talk about how they are purposefully going out of the way to thoroughly test it before they release it. I think that they are also nervous about this working. And I'm glad that they're thoroughly going to test it because typically I've seen people levy this criticism towards them numerous times. People talk about how it seems like they don't quality test their content before they release it a lot of times. Now, I don't necessarily believe that. I think that that is a little overblown. But I am glad to hear that they are at least acknowledging that this might be a bit of a problem, and this could be further off. And that's okay. I would rather them take a couple of months before we see this to get it right than just throw it at us. However, I would be remiss to not mention all these things and just get excited like I easily could, overly excited, and then whenever it drops, be overly disappointed. So I'm cautiously optimistic. The other nice thing about this dev note that I believe should be brought up is the fact that they continue to mention how they want our feedback and that they appreciate us giving it to them. And that is something on my end I appreciate from them so much. You guys do not, and some of you might, but a lot of people I don't believe actually understand how nice it is that this dev team does listen to us. They do seem to understand where we're coming from sometimes. No, not all the time. And any good dev team, there has to be a fine line. You know, you don't want to heed to the whims of the, angry mob on everything. But it is nice to see that they continue to look for our feedback, and I do believe that they do take our word into account. Now, there is a debate whether or not they take the Korean side of the game's word more seriously than, the global side, and that's something that is not even worth getting into because there's no way of knowing at the end of the day. But whether that is the case or not, it is nice that this dev team is listening. And if they are listening, if they hear this, make sure you get it right before you release it. And whatever you do to make it work, if it does work, say it comes out and it's flawless, there shouldn't be as much of a difference between it and PvP to where you can't implement it in PvP and get PvP 100%. So try and fix these things. I'm hoping whatever they do with this to get our connections together working is going to be something that they can then parlay into PvP and fix all the latency and issues there, all the lag, and get this game to the point it needs to be at. Because I firmly believe at this point, if this game did not have the lag issues that it had, if it did not have the kind of connection issues that it has at times, especially when we're trying to come together as a community, it would strengthen this game so much. And that's what I want at the end of the day. I want this community to come together. I want everybody to work together. I want it to be more inclusive of new players. I want this game and this community to work together to a common goal, which is just having fun and enjoying this game. Because there's so much negativity in the world, we don't need to bring it into this game. This game is a escape, and it should be treated as such. Yes, there are negative things you can levy at anything, but at the end of the day, this is a great game. This is a very good dev team at the end of the day too, and I think that we should all be thankful and cautiously optimistic going forward. But that's the video today, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. I am curious to hear your thoughts. So as I say every Saturday, make sure you leave a comment in the comments section down below letting me know about what you feel like with this CoOp PVE. Do you feel like it'll be a mess? Are you cautiously optimistic? Let me know. But last thing I wanted to throw in here at the end is SNK vs. Capcom, the match of the millennium, is getting the Switch re-release on 2/17/21, so not very far from now. We have covered this in the past when it got rated. We knew it was going to get announced formally very soon. This is a phenomenal Neo Geo Pocket Color game that came out many, many years ago, and if those of you who have not played it now get the chance to play it for the first time, I highly recommend doing so. It shouldn't be too expensive, and it should be something you can have a lot of fun with, especially on a Nintendo Switch, which is my preferred console of choice, but that's another debate for another time. Anyway, guys, you enjoy your weekends. Thank you so much for watching. Like, share, and subscribe. Peace.
Continue.